The council chamber stretched before Hana like a cathedral of metal and light. Thousands of seats rose in circular tiers, each occupied by beings that looked nothing like her. Some had scales that shimmered under the station's artificial suns. Others possessed too many limbs or eyes that glowed with colors she had no names for. A few floated in containment fields filled with gases her lungs could never process. Hana stood at the human delegation's platform, her uniform pressed and perfect. She was the first human to address the Galactic Council as an official representative. Earth had waited 200 years for this moment. Ever since the first alien probe had found their small blue world spinning in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. The speaker called the session to order. Its voice came through translators embedded in every seat, rendering alien sounds into something approximating human language. The topic was simple. Should humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, or should they remain provisional members under the guidance of more advanced species? Hana expected debate. She did not expect mockery. The Vrkesh representative rose first. Cormath stood nearly 3 meters tall, his body covered in overlapping plates of natural bone armor. 4 arms emerged from his torso, each ending in claws that could shred steel. His species had conquered 14 star systems through military might alone. "I have reviewed the biological data on humans," Cormath announced, his translated voice dripping with disdain. "They possess no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no venom glands. Their skin tears easily. Their bones break under moderate pressure. They cannot see in darkness, cannot hear across wide frequency ranges, and their sense of smell is pathetic compared to any proper predator species." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Hana's hands clenched at her sides, but she remained silent. She had been warned to let them speak first. A Chitauri delegate clicked forward on 6 legs. The insectoid species had evolved in hive structures, their entire civilization built on instinctual cooperation and biological specialization. The delegate's mandibles clattered as it spoke. Humans cannot survive in their own planet's natural extremes without artificial protection. They require clothing, shelter, and technology just to inhabit their homeworld's polar regions or deserts. Their gestation period is dangerously long, producing offspring that remain helpless for years. By any evolutionary metric, they are a failed design. Laughter erupted from several sections. Hana felt heat rising in her cheeks. She glanced at her small delegation, 3 diplomats and 2 military advisors, all human, all trying to maintain professional composure while being dissected like laboratory specimens. The council's scientific advisor projected holographic displays above the chamber floor. Charts and graphs materialized in the air, showing comparative data between humans and dozens of other species. Strength metrics placed humans in the bottom 20th percentile. Speed rankings were worse. Natural armor rating 0. Sensory capability below average across all categories. "The evidence is clear," the scientific advisor concluded. "Humans are a soft species. They have survived and achieved spaceflight through tool use and cooperation, but they lack the fundamental biological advantages that characterize successful warrior cultures. I recommend we classify them as a protected species requiring oversight." More voices joined the chorus. A crystalline being suggested humans might serve well as administrators or scholars, provided they stayed away from dangerous work. Aquatic species proposed that humans be restricted to their home system for their own safety. One particularly blunt delegate stated that humans looked like prey animals and should be treated accordingly. Hana waited until the speaker recognized her. She stepped forward to the platform's edge, looking up at the thousands of alien faces. "Thank you for your assessments," she began, keeping her voice steady. "You are correct that humans lack natural weapons and armor. You are correct that we are physically weaker than most species in this chamber. These facts are undeniable." She paused, meeting Cormath's eyes across the vast space. "But you are wrong about what those facts mean." The chamber quieted. Hana continued. "My species has survived ice ages and droughts, plagues and disasters that killed millions. We spread across our entire planet without the benefit of evolution adapting us to each environment. We did this not through strength, but through adaptability, not through natural weapons, but through learned skills. We became dangerous not because we were born dangerous, but because we made ourselves dangerous." Cormath snorted. "Philosophical deflection. Your species may have impressive determination, but determination does not defeat natural superiority. A human warrior would last seconds against any trained Vrkesh soldier." "Perhaps," Hana replied. Would you care to test that assumption? The chamber erupted. Some delegates called for order. Others encouraged the confrontation. Cormath's bone plates flared outward in a threat display. You challenge my species to combat? You who have no claws, no armor, no biological advantages whatsoever. I challenge your assumption that those things make you superior warriors, Hana corrected. I propose a demonstration. Send your finest warriors to the arena, world of Krell. I will bring a team from Earth. We will show you what humans have learned during our long history of being soft and weak and vulnerable. The speaker called for calm. After several minutes of heated debate, the council agreed to Hana's proposal. It would be a spectacle, they decided. Educational even. The soft humans would learn humility when faced with true warrior species. Cormath volunteered the Vrakesh champion, a warrior named Drakus who had never lost a sanctioned combat. The Chitauri offered 3 of their soldier caste. Other species rushed to nominate their own fighters, eager to participate in what they saw as an inevitable human defeat. As the session adjourned, Hana returned to her quarters and opened a secure channel to Earth. The face that appeared on the screen was familiar. Sharp features, dark eyes, and a slight smile that suggested he already knew why she was calling. Hello, sister, Tay said. I watched the session. That was quite a challenge you issued. Can you do it? Hana asked. Can you find people who can face the galaxy's warriors and win? Tay's smile widened. Hana, I spend every day teaching people the things our ancestors learned over 10,000 years. The things we learned specifically because we had no claws or armor or natural weapons. Yes, I can find the right people. The question is whether the galaxy is ready to learn what humanity became when we had nothing but our minds and our will to survive. Bring them to Krell Station in 3 weeks, Hana instructed. Bring the ones who understand blades. Blades, Tay repeated, nodding slowly. Yes, that will teach them. That will teach them exactly what it means to be human. The transmission ended. Hana stood alone in her quarters looking out at the stars beyond the station's viewports. Somewhere out there, the Vrakesh champion was preparing for an easy victory. Somewhere else, Earth's warriors were about to receive a very unusual invitation. The galaxy thought humans were soft. They were about to learn the difference between soft and weak. They were about to discover what happens when a species spends millennia learning to kill each other. With nothing but shaped metal and skill, they were about to meet the Blade Masters. Tay stood in the central hall of the Human Combat Archives, a facility buried deep beneath the mountains of Korea. The building held 10,000 years of warfare knowledge. Every sword technique, every fighting style, every lesson humanity had learned through centuries of conflict lived here in training halls and digital records. He had sent messages to 5 people. All had responded within hours. Now they gathered in the hall while Tay explained what Hana needed. The Galactic Council thinks we are weak, Tay said, his voice echoing off stone walls. They see our soft skin and assume we cannot fight. They measure us against species born with weapons and find us lacking. My sister has arranged a demonstration to prove them wrong. Minji sat quietly on a bench, her hands resting on the sword case beside her. She was small and slight, with gray threads in her dark hair. For 20 years she had studied the old Korean sword arts, learning from masters who traced their lineage back centuries. She spoke softly. What kind of demonstration? Combat, Tay replied. Real combat against the galaxy's warriors. The Vrakesh are sending their champion. The Chitauri are sending their soldier caste. Other species will send their finest, all of them biologically superior to humans in strength, speed, and natural weapons. Junho leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He was taller than the others, with scars on his hands from a lifetime of weapons training. He had studied every human fighting tradition he could find, mastering spears and swords and axes. He understood weapons not as tools, but as extensions of human will. They will be wearing armor, Junho stated. These warrior species. They will have protection. Probably, Tay agreed. And we will not? The point is to show what humans are, not what our technology can do. We need to demonstrate that even soft, weak humans can defeat biologically superior warriors. We need to prove that skill matters more than natural advantage. Yunji shifted her weight, her movements precise and controlled. She had served in military special forces before dedicating herself to close combat instruction. She knew 50 ways to kill with a knife and 100 more without one. Her face showed no emotion as she asked the important question. What are the rules? Combat until submission or incapacitation, Tay answered. Lethal force is permitted. Medical teams will be present. The fights are real. Day laughed, a sharp sound in the quiet hall. He was older than the others, with gray at his temples and eyes that had seen actual warfare. He had fought in border conflicts and peacekeeping missions before retiring to teach tactics. He understood violence not as sport but as survival. They are giving us permission to hurt their warriors, Day observed. They think it is safe because we are human. Because we are soft. Yes, Tay confirmed. Then they are fools. The fifth member of the group stood apart from the others. Sora was barely 30 years old, but she moved like someone who had trained since childhood. She had studied multiple blade traditions and synthesized them into her own style, creating something new from ancient foundations. Her question was simple. When do we leave? Tay smiled. 3 weeks. But first I need to know you understand what you are agreeing to. The galaxy will be watching. Billions of beings will see these fights. If we lose, humanity loses credibility. If we win too brutally, we might be labeled as dangerous primitives. We must win with skill and control. We must teach them without humiliating them. Minji stood, lifting her sword case. My masters taught me that the sword exists to protect, not to destroy. Every cut must have purpose. Every strike must show understanding. I can win without cruelty. I have studied weapons for 40 years, Junho added. I know how to disable without killing. I know how to demonstrate mastery without causing unnecessary pain. This I can do, Yunji nodded once. I understand combat psychology. I know how to control a fight's pace. I know when to press and when to show mercy. I will make them understand the difference between capability and action. Day's expression turned serious. I have fought real battles. I know what warfare looks like when there are no rules and no mercy. What you are asking is harder than that. To fight with absolute skill while maintaining absolute control. But yes, I can do this, Sora spoke last. I learned the sword not as a weapon, but as a discipline. My teacher showed me that true mastery comes from knowing when not to strike. I will fight with precision. I will win with respect. Tay looked at each of them. 5 humans who had dedicated their lives to studying violence. 5 people who understood that the human ability to create weapons was matched only by the human ability to master those weapons through decades of training. The galaxy evolved weapons into their bodies, Tay explained. Claws, fangs, armor plates, venom. They are born dangerous. But we humans had to learn danger. We had to study it, practice it, refine it over thousands of years. Every technique you know exists because some human in the past needed to defeat an enemy, despite being weaker and slower. He activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air. Historical footage of human warriors throughout history. Korean warriors with their distinctive curved blades, Japanese fighters demonstrating lightning-fast draws, European knights showing the leverage and geometry of longsword combat, Filipino martial artists proving that short blades could defeat longer weapons through superior angles. Our ancestors faced enemies every day, Tay continued. Not just other humans, but predators, harsh environments, and their own physical limitations. They survived by becoming smarter, more adaptive, and more skilled than anything nature could produce. That legacy is what you carry into the arena. Minji traced her fingers along her sword case. They will expect us to fight like animals. Wild and desperate? Yes, Tay agreed. But we will fight like humans. Calculated and precise. Exactly. The group spent the next 3 weeks preparing. They trained together, learning each other's patterns and preferences. They studied videos of alien physiology, identifying vulnerabilities and limitations. They practiced against training drones programmed to mimic alien movement patterns. But mostly they practiced the basics, the fundamental techniques that worked regardless of opponent, the principles that made human martial arts effective: balance, timing, distance, angle, and economy of motion. Junyo spent hours reviewing alien anatomy. He learned where joints articulated on different species. He identified major blood vessels and nerve clusters. He memorized the location of every vulnerability that might exist in an alien body. Hyunji drilled scenarios with Dai, practicing how to fight against multiple opponents with coordination and tactics. They reviewed ancient squad fighting techniques, methods developed when human armies clashed with spears and shields. Sora worked on endurance, preparing for the possibility of extended combat. She ran for hours with weighted practice swords, building the stamina that would let her fight efficiently for as long as necessary. Minji meditated with her blade, refining her connection to the weapon. She practiced the draw 10,000 times, seeking the perfect motion where muscle memory and conscious intent merged into something faster than thought. When the 3 weeks ended, they gathered again in the central hall. Tay looked at each of them. The transport leaves tomorrow. When we arrive at Krell Station, the entire galaxy will be watching. They expect to see humans fail. They expect to confirm their belief that we are soft and weak. Are you ready to teach them otherwise? 5 voices answered as one. Yes. Tay picked up his own sword case. As the head instructor of the archives, he had trained thousands of students. But these 5 represented something special. The culmination of humanity's long journey from vulnerable prey to apex predator through skill alone. Then let us show the galaxy what humans learned when we had nothing but our determination and our blades. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session within hours of Minji's victory. The council chamber buzzed with argument. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of languages while translators struggled to keep pace. Cormath stood at the Vrakesh platform, his bone plates rigid with tension. I demand an explanation. Your fighter used weapons technology we did not detect, some form of molecular cutting edge or energy enhancement. My champion's defeat proves nothing without full disclosure of your weapon specifications. Hana rose to respond, but Tay placed a hand on her arm. Let me, he said quietly. She nodded. Tay had spent his life studying and teaching these arts. If anyone could explain it to the galaxy, he could. Tay walked to the central speaking platform. Around him, holographic displays activated, waiting for his input. He looked up at the thousands of alien faces watching him. War Chief Cormath asks about weapons technology, Tay began. There is none. The blade Minji used was simple folded steel. No power source. No exotic materials. No energy fields. Just shaped metal with a sharp edge. I can provide metallurgical analysis if required. Impossible, a Chitauri delegate clicked. No simple blade could defeat a Vrakesh warrior so easily. You are correct, Tay agreed. No blade could. But a blade in trained hands? That is different. He gestured to the holographic displays. Images appeared. Ancient drawings and paintings from human history. Warriors in armor holding swords. Paintings of battles where thousands of humans clashed with metal weapons. My species had no natural weapons, Tay explained. No claws, no fangs, no armor. But we had something else. Hands that could grip tools and brains that could learn patterns. So we made weapons, and then we spent 10,000 years learning how to use them. More images appeared. Training halls from different human cultures. Masters teaching students, detailed diagrams showing strike angles and body mechanics. This is the Korean sword art called Jeomdo, Tay continued. It is over 1,000 years old. But it builds on principles even older. Every culture on Earth developed blade techniques. Korean, Japanese, Chinese, European, Middle Eastern, Filipino. Hundreds of distinct systems, each refined over centuries. A crystalline delegate's translated voice rang out. Many species have weapons traditions. What makes human blade art special? Necessity, Tay replied simply. Other species had natural advantages. They could afford to rely on instinct and biology. Humans could not. We had to make fighting a science. We had to understand every principle of leverage, timing, balance, and anatomy. We had to learn these things or die. He displayed footage of human training, students practicing the same movement thousands of times, masters correcting minute details of posture and angle, slow-motion recordings showing the biomechanics of a perfect cut. A Vrakesh warrior is born with 4 arms and natural armor, Tay explained. That warrior receives training, but much of his effectiveness comes from natural advantage. A human warrior is born with nothing. Everything must be learned. Every technique must be practiced until it becomes faster than conscious thought. New images appeared, historical records of human warfare. Battles where armies clashed, duels between skilled fighters, training yards where children learned to hold practice swords before they could read. My species spent most of its history fighting itself, Tay said quietly. Humans killed humans in countless wars and conflicts. Every technique you see in the arena was developed to defeat other humans. We learned to fight enemies who thought like us, moved like us, and used the same weapons as us. This forced us to become more efficient, more precise, and more skilled than any species fighting different creatures. The council chamber had grown silent. Aliens who minutes ago had been shouting now listened intently. Let me show you what this means in practice, Tay continued. He displayed a 3-dimensional model of Dracus's body. The Vrakesh have natural bone plating. Very effective armor, but armor must have joints or the body cannot move. Here, here, and here. Places where bone plates connect. Beneath these joints lie tendons, blood vessels, and nerves. He highlighted specific points on the model. Minji did not try to cut through armor. She cut between armor plates. She struck tendons that control arm movement. She hit pressure points that disrupt balance. She used techniques developed over centuries specifically to defeat armored opponents. But how could she do this so quickly? Cormath demanded. Dracus is a trained warrior. He has fought for 30 years. How does your fighter move faster than his reaction time? She does not, Tay replied. She moves before he does. This is called reading patterns. Every movement a body makes begins with small preparatory actions. Weight shifts, muscle tension, eye focus. Human martial artists learn to recognize these signs. Minji knew what Dracus would do before he did it, because she has spent 20 years learning to read body language. He displayed more footage, this time showing Minji's fight from different angles. Slowed down, the viewing showed how she moved in response to Dracus's preparatory movements, not his actual attacks. This is not reflexes, Tay explained. This is prediction based on thousands of hours studying how bodies move. It is a learned skill, not a natural one. A delegate from a species Tai did not recognize spoke up. You say these arts are 1,000 years old? But surely modern combat makes such skills obsolete. Tay smiled. Our soldiers still learn blade work. Even in an age of spacecraft and energy weapons, we teach knife fighting to our military personnel. Do you know why? He did not wait for an answer. Because the principles never change. Distance, timing, angle, balance, these work the same whether you hold a stone knife or an energy weapon. Understanding close combat teaches warriors how to read opponents, control space, and make decisions under pressure. A soldier who knows blade work becomes a better fighter overall. More images cycled through the displays. Modern human soldiers training with knives, historical warriors with ancient swords. The techniques looked remarkably similar despite centuries of separation. Every human culture independently developed blade arts, Tay continued. Some emphasized speed. Others focused on power. Some taught defensive techniques. Others specialized in aggressive attacks. But all shared common principles because all faced the same fundamental problem. How does a weak, slow creature defeat stronger, faster enemies? He paused, looking around the chamber. The answer is skill. Pure, refined, practiced skill. Humans cannot outmuscle a Vrakesh. We cannot outrun a Chitari soldier. We cannot outarmor most warrior species. But we can outthink them. We can outtrain them. We can use 10,000 years of accumulated knowledge against their natural advantages. Cormath's bone plates shifted, a sign of grudging respect. You are saying that your weakness became your strength. Exactly, Tay confirmed. Because we were weak, we had to become smart. Because we were vulnerable, we had to become skilled. Our lack of natural weapons forced us to master artificial ones. The galaxy sees our soft bodies and thinks we are helpless. But that softness made us study violence in ways species with natural weapons never needed to. A murmur ran through the council. Delegates spoke to each other in hushed tones. The dismissive mockery from the first session had vanished, replaced by something else. Concern, perhaps, or respect. I have more to show you, Tay said. Minji's victory was not luck or surprise. It was the application of fundamental principles that any trained human warrior understands. If the council permits, I would like to demonstrate this with additional challenges. The speaker consulted with senior delegates. After several minutes of debate, it announced the decision. The council agrees. We will schedule additional demonstrations, multiple challenges, different combat scenarios. If human skill is truly as you describe, it should work against various opponents and conditions. Agreed, Tay replied. My team is ready. As the session ended, Hana approached her brother in the corridor outside the chamber. They are taking this seriously now. They should, Tay replied. They just learned that their natural advantages mean less than they thought. That realization is frightening for species who base their entire self-image on biological superiority. Will the others be able to replicate what Minji did? Tay smiled. Minji showed them basic technique. Wait until they see what true masters can do when they fully commit. The galaxy has only glimpsed human capability. The real lessons are still to come. In the medical facility, Dracus lay on a treatment table, while doctors worked to repair his damaged tendons. He stared at the ceiling, his mind replaying the fight over and over. How did she see my attack coming? He asked the Vrkesh doctor. According to the human instructor's explanation, she read your preparatory movements, the doctor replied while working. Your body showed her what you would do before you did it. Impossible, Dracus muttered. I am a trained warrior. I know how to mask my intentions. Apparently not well enough, the doctor said. The humans have spent thousands of years learning to read such signs. They practiced against other humans who actively tried to hide their intentions. This forced them to become extremely skilled at observation. Dracus was silent for a moment. Then he asked, could I learn this skill? The doctor paused in his work. That is an interesting question. The humans offered to teach their arts to any species interested. Perhaps you should ask. In her quarters, Minji sat in meditation. The arena was older than human civilization. Carved from black volcanic rock, it sat in the center of Krell Station like a monument to violence. 50,000 seats rose in steep tiers around the fighting floor. Every seat was full. Hana stood in the waiting area with Tai and his team. Through the force field separating them from the arena, she could see the crowd. Aliens of every description filled the stands. Some shouted in their native languages. Others watched in silence, their alien expressions unreadable. All had come to see the soft humans face the galaxy's warriors. They think this is entertainment, Yunji observed quietly. Let them think that, Day replied. It will make the lesson stronger. A holographic display appeared in the waiting area. It showed Kormath addressing the crowd from his private viewing platform. The Vrkesh war chief's translated words boomed through the arena. Today we witness an important demonstration. The humans claim they deserve full council membership despite their physical weakness. They claim their learned skills equal our natural superiority. We shall test this claim. Our champion, Dracus, will face their fighter in single combat. Let us see if human determination can overcome Vrkesh strength. The crowd roared approval. On the display, Dracus entered the arena from the opposite side. He was massive, even for a Vrkesh. Nearly 3 meters of bone-plated muscle and forearms, each ending in claws that gleamed under the arena lights. He wore no armor because he needed none. His natural plating was stronger than most manufactured materials. Dracus raised all 4 arms in a victory salute. The crowd's noise became deafening. Hana turned to Tae. Who faces him first? Tae looked at his team. Yunho was the largest and physically strongest. Tae had actual combat experience. Sora was the fastest. Any of them could make a good showing. But Minji stepped forward. I will go, she said quietly. Hana blinked. Minji, he outweighs you by 200 kilos. He has 4 arms and natural armor. Perhaps someone else should... No, Minji interrupted, her voice gentle but firm. Size and strength are what they expect to matter. Let me show them what actually matters. Tae nodded. She is right. Minji understands? The arena's arbiter, a crystalline being that served as referee, appeared in the waiting area. Its translated voice was neutral and precise. Human fighter, please proceed to the arena floor. The rules are simple. Combat continues until one participant submits or is incapacitated. Lethal force is permitted but not required. Medical teams are standing by. Do you understand? I understand, Minji replied. She picked up her sword case, a simple wooden container worn smooth by decades of use. She wore plain training clothes, loose pants and a simple top, both in dark colors. No armor, no protection, no visible technology. The force field dissolved. Minji walked into the arena. The crowd's noise changed. Laughter mixed with the shouting now. The humans had sent their smallest fighter against the Vrkesh champion. It seemed like suicide or stupidity. Betting displays updated around the arena, showing odds of 1,000 to 1 against the human. Minji walked to the center of the arena floor. She set her sword case down and knelt beside it, taking her time. She opened the case with deliberate care. Inside lay a single sword, a Korean blade called a geom, slightly curved with a wrapped handle and plain guard. She lifted the sword still in its scabbard and stood. Then she bowed to Dracus. The Vrkesh champion laughed. His translator broadcasted across the arena. The human shows respect. This is good. I will make her defeat quick and painless as a courtesy. Minji did not respond. She simply took her stance. Feet shoulder-width apart, sword held at her left hip. Right hand on the handle, left hand supporting the scabbard. The arbiter's voice rang out. Begin, Dracus charged immediately. His strategy was simple and effective. Use his superior size and strength to overwhelm the opponent before she could react. His forearms spread wide, ready to grab or strike from multiple angles. His bone-plated feet shook the arena floor with each step. Minji did not retreat. She stepped slightly to the left, her feet moving in a pattern she had practiced 10,000 times. Her sword remained sheathed. Dracus adjusted his charge, predicting where the human would try to dodge. But Minji did not dodge. She watched. Her eyes tracked his movements with absolute focus. She saw how his weight shifted. She noted which arms he favored. She observed the slight gap where his natural armor plates met at his joints. For 30 seconds, she simply moved, keeping distance while Dracus pursued. The crowd grew restless. Some shouted for the human to fight. Others called for Dracus to finish it quickly. Dracus grew angry. The human's passive defense insulted him. He committed fully to his next attack, bringing all 4 arms together in a strike that would crush the human's skull if it connected. Minji drew her sword. The motion was a single fluid movement, the draw, the step forward, and the cut flowing together seamlessly. Her teachers had called it batujutsu, the art of drawing and cutting in one motion. Minji had practiced it every day for 20 years. The blade flashed in the arena lights. Most of the crowd could not follow it. They saw Minji standing in a new position, her sword extended. They saw Dracus stumble, his victory roar dying in his throat. Then they saw 3 of his forearms drop uselessly to his sides. Minji had not cut through his arms. She had severed the tendons at his shoulders with surgical precision. The cuts were so exact that Dracus did not immediately feel pain, only the sudden inability to move his limbs. The arena fell silent. Dracus staggered, confused. He still had one functional arm and his legs. He was still larger and stronger. He swung his remaining arm in a wild strike. Minji moved inside his reach. Her sword became a blur. She struck his elbow, not breaking bone but cutting the joints supporting structures. She hit pressure points on his legs, not crippling strikes, but precise cuts that disrupted his balance and coordination. Each strike demonstrated absolute control. Each cut showed knowledge of anatomy that the Vrakesh had never needed, because they relied on overwhelming force. Each movement proved that strength meant nothing against precision. Dracus fell to his knees. His natural armor was undamaged, but everything beneath it had been methodically disabled. He could not stand. He could not defend. He could not attack. Minji stepped back and cleaned her blade with a cloth from her belt. She returned the sword to its scabbard with the same careful motion she had used to draw it. "Submit," she said quietly. "You fought with honor. There is no shame in this defeat." Dracus stared at her, his alien features showing emotions that needed no translation: shock, disbelief, and growing understanding. He looked at his useless arms, feeling no pain but complete loss of function. "How?" he asked. "How did you—" 10,000 years, Minji replied. 10,000 years of humans fighting each other despite having no natural weapons. 10,000 years of learning exactly where to cut, how to move, when to strike. You are stronger than me. You are faster than me. But I know things about fighting that your species never needed to learn." She bowed to him again. "I submit to your strength. But you must submit to my skill. That is the lesson." The arbiter declared the match complete. Medical teams rushed onto the floor. They stabilized Dracus, their scanners showing that despite multiple wounds, all were superficial, precisely placed to disable without causing permanent damage or serious blood loss. Minji walked back to the waiting area. Behind her, the arena remained silent. 50,000 aliens tried to process what they had just witnessed. Hana met Minji at the entrance. "That was basic technique," Minji finished. "Nothing special. Just the fundamentals that any human student learns. The difference is that we had to learn these things. We had no choice." Tay smiled. "And now they know. The first lesson is complete." On his viewing platform, Cormath stared at the arena floor where his champion still knelt, being treated by medical staff. The war chief's bone plates had flattened against his body, a Vrakesh sign of deep thought. Around the arena, betting displays flickered and updated. The odds on human fighters suddenly shifted dramatically. The galaxy was learning. Humans were not soft. They were something far more dangerous. The second challenge came 3 days later. The Chitauri had requested a team combat scenario. 3 of their soldiers cast against 3 human fighters. The arena floor had been modified with barriers and obstacles to create a more complex battlefield. Yunho, Yunji, and Dai stood in the waiting area checking their weapons. Yunho carried a short sword and a combat knife. Yunji had 2 knives of different lengths. Dai held a simple fighting blade. Nothing fancy, just reliable steel. They will coordinate perfectly, Yunji observed, watching the Chitauri soldiers enter the arena. Hive mind species have instinctive teamwork. Then we use real teamwork, Day replied. The kind that comes from training together, not instinct. The Chitauri soldiers were impressive specimens. Each stood nearly 2 meters tall on 6 legs. Their exoskeletons gleamed like polished black armor. Natural weapons sprouted from their forelimbs, serrated edges sharp enough to cut metal. They moved with perfect synchronization, their hive-linked minds sharing information instantly. The Arbiter explained the rules. Combat continues until all members of one team are incapacitated or submit. The barriers and obstacles may be used tactically. Lethal force is permitted. Medical teams are standing by. Begin when ready. The Chitauri spread out immediately, taking positions that covered all angles of approach. They had studied Minji's fight. They would not make the mistake of charging blindly. Hunyo looked at his teammates. Pattern 7? Agreed, Yunji replied. They moved as one, but not toward the Chitauri. Instead, they repositioned behind different barriers, breaking the enemy's sight lines. The Chitauri adjusted, trying to maintain their coverage. They are running, one alien spectator shouted. The humans fear direct combat. But Day was not running. He was setting up a trap. The Chitauri advanced carefully, their natural caution enhanced by hive intelligence. They maintained formation, checking corners and angles with military precision. When the first Chitauri rounded a barrier, Day was waiting, not in front but above. He dropped from the top of the barrier, his blade flashing down. The Chitauri reacted with inhuman speed, raising its forelimbs to block. But Day was not targeting the body. His blade struck the joint where the Chitauri's forelimb connected to its torso, cutting through the softer connecting tissue. Before the wounded Chitauri could respond, Junho appeared from a different angle. His short sword struck low, targeting legs. The Chitauri had 6 legs, impressive mobility, but each leg required articulation points. Junho's blade found the joints on 2 legs in rapid succession. The Chitauri stumbled. Its hive mind immediately signaled the other 2 for support. They converged on the position, coordinating their approach to eliminate the threat. But Yunji had circled behind them. She moved like water between the barriers, her knives working in complementary patterns. The longer knife in her right hand engaged one Chitauri's defenses. The shorter knife in her left hand struck past those defenses to cut sensory organs and joint supports. The Chitauri hive mind adjusted instantly, recognizing the threat. They abandoned their wounded companion and focused on Yunji. 2 against 1, both with reach advantage and natural weapons. Yunji retreated in a controlled manner, not fleeing but managing distance. She led them exactly where Day and Junho waited. The ambush was perfect. The 3 humans struck simultaneously from different angles. Their blades found joints, sensory organs, and support structures with surgical precision. Within seconds, both Chitauri were disabled. The first wounded Chitauri tried to rejoin the fight despite its injuries. Junho intercepted it, his movements economical and efficient. He did not waste energy on flashy techniques. Each strike served a purpose. Disable mobility, remove offensive capability, force submission. The entire engagement lasted less than 3 minutes. 3 Chitauri soldiers, evolved specifically for warfare and backed by hive mind coordination, lay disabled on the arena floor. The human team had not suffered a single wound. The arena crowd reacted with stunned silence followed by explosive debate. What they had just witnessed contradicted everything they thought they knew about combat effectiveness. Tay stood in the waiting area with Hana. They are learning lesson 2, he said quietly. Individual skill matters, but trained humans working together are more effective than hive minds. How? Hana asked. The Chitauri share information instantly. Our fighters have to communicate. Exactly, Tay replied. The Chitauri know what each other perceives, but Junho, Yunji, and Day know what each other thinks. They have trained together enough to predict each other's decisions. They do not need to communicate because they understand the same principles and trust each other to apply them correctly. That is real teamwork. The next challenge came 2 days later. A species called the Morok, massive bear-like creatures with incredible strength and endurance, proposed a test of sustained combat. They would send warriors one at a time against a single human fighter, until either the human was defeated or 12 hours passed. A marathon of violence, Day observed. They want to test if we can maintain technique under exhaustion. Sora stepped forward. I will take this challenge. She entered the arena carrying 2 short swords, each blade about 70 centimeters long. The crowd had grown larger for this event. Word had spread across the station about the human fighters. Some came to see if the victories were genuine. Others came hoping to see humans finally defeated. The first Morok warrior was a mountain of muscle and fur. It stood nearly 3 meters tall with claws that could tear through standard combat armor. It roared a challenge that shook the arena floor. Sora bowed, then took her stance. The fight began. For the first hour, Sora demonstrated efficiency of movement. She did not waste energy on dramatic attacks or aggressive charges. She maintained distance using footwork to control spacing. When the Morok attacked, she deflected rather than blocked, redirecting force instead of absorbing it. Her swords found targets with methodical precision, not killing strikes but disabling cuts, damaged muscles, severed tendons, joint injuries that accumulated with each exchange. After 12 minutes, the first Morok submitted, unable to continue despite his massive strength advantage. The second Morok entered immediately. Sora shifted her stance slightly, adapting to this new opponent's movement patterns. The fight lasted 14 minutes. By the third hour, the crowd had grown quiet. They watched Sora move through opponent after opponent, each Morok warrior falling to the same systematic destruction of their ability to fight. By the 5th hour, Sora showed signs of fatigue. Her movements remained precise but slower. She breathed harder. Sweat soaked her training clothes. The Morok warriors began to adapt. They had studied her patterns, learned her preferred techniques. They attacked with more caution, trying to wear her down further. Sora changed her approach. She became more aggressive, finishing fights faster but at greater energy cost. Her blades moved in continuous motion, creating defensive barriers of steel that her opponents could not penetrate. At hour 7, she faced her 10th Morok opponent. This one was their champion, a warrior who had won dozens of tournament matches. He entered the arena fresh while Sora could barely stand straight. The crowd leaned forward. Finally, the humans would fail. But Sora did something unexpected. She dropped into a meditation stance, swords held loosely, and closed her eyes for 30 seconds. When she opened them again, something had changed. Her breathing had calmed. Her movements, when the fight began, showed renewed precision. What did she just do? An alien delegate asked. Mental reset, Tay explained from his observation position. A technique we call entering the void. She emptied her mind of fatigue and fear, accessing a state of pure focus. It is temporary but effective. Sora defeated the Morok champion in 8 minutes. She fought for 2 more hours, facing increasingly skilled opponents. Her technique never faltered. When her body grew too tired for complex movements, she simplified to the most basic, most efficient strikes. When even those became difficult, she used positioning and timing to compensate for lost speed and power. At hour 11, she faced her 15th opponent. Her arms shook with exhaustion. Her legs barely supported her weight, but her eyes remained focused, her mind clear. She won in 20 minutes, her longest fight yet, but a win nonetheless. The Morok conceded. No more warriors entered the arena. Sora had proven her point. Medical teams came to escort her to treatment. But she walked off the arena floor under her own power, her sword still held properly despite her exhaustion. The crowd erupted. Some shouted approval. Others argued about what they had witnessed. But none could deny what Sora had demonstrated. Human endurance, both physical and mental, exceeded their expectations. Tay met her at the waiting area entrance. That was more than technique, he said quietly. That was warrior spirit. Sora managed a tired smile. My master taught me that the body fails when the mind allows it. I did not allow it. Over the next 3 days, more challenges came. Each time, the human fighters adapted and prevailed. They faced aquatic warriors in watery environments. They fought flying species in 3-dimensional combat spaces. They defeated armored opponents and unarmored speedsters. Each victory taught the galaxy the same lesson. Human martial skill was real, refined, and ruthlessly effective. The council watched, and they began to understand what it meant that humanity had spent. The emergency council session was the largest gathering in 5 years. Every major species sent their highest-ranking officials. The gallery seats overflowed with observers. The demonstrations on Krell had shaken the galaxy's understanding of combat, capability, and what it meant to be a warrior species. Cormath stood at the Vrakesh platform. his bone plates arranged in a pattern that indicated formal respect. "I withdraw my objection to human council membership," he announced. "My species judged humans by their biology and found them weak. We were wrong. Their warriors defeated ours not through trickery or technology, but through superior skill and understanding. This deserves recognition." Other delegates murmured agreement. The Chitauri representative clicked forward. "Our soldier caste is bred for warfare. They have instincts for combat coded into their genetic structure. Yet human fighters with learned skills defeated them. This troubles us. How can learned behavior exceed evolutionary adaptation?" Hana rose to respond, but the speaker gestured for patience. "Let us hear from the human instructor. Master Tay, please explain what the council has witnessed." Tay walked to the central platform. This time he came prepared with extensive presentation materials. The holographic displays activated, filling the air above the council floor with images and data. "You ask how learned behavior can exceed evolution," Tay began. "The answer lies in understanding what humans are. We are not warriors. We are survivors who learned to fight because we had no other choice." He displayed an image of Earth, the blue planet that had birthed humanity. "My homeworld is beautiful but dangerous. When humans evolved, we were not apex predators. We were prey. Faster predators hunted us. Stronger predators killed us. Larger predators saw us as food. New images appeared. Ancient human ancestors fleeing from predators, hiding in caves, huddling together for protection. We survived not through strength but through intelligence and adaptability. We learned to make tools because we had no claws. We learned to throw rocks because we could not catch prey with our hands. We learned to work together because individually we were vulnerable." The displays showed human evolution over millions of years. Simple tools becoming more complex. Groups becoming tribes. Tribes becoming civilizations. Then we spread across our planet, Tay continued. We entered every environment Earth offers. Deserts where temperatures exceed 50 degrees. Frozen lands where water becomes solid. Jungles thick with poisonous creatures. Mountains where air is too thin to breathe easily. We adapted to all of these not by evolving different biology, but by learning different techniques. Images cycled through various human cultures. Desert dwellers with their protective clothing. Arctic hunters with their specialized gear. Jungle tribes with their navigation skills. This taught us something critical, Tay explained. We learned that skills can be taught and improved faster than evolution can adapt biology. A human child born in the desert can learn Arctic survival. A human from the frozen north can learn jungle tracking. We are not locked into roles by our genetics. We are shaped by our education. A new display appeared. Human warfare throughout history. Not the romanticized version, but the brutal reality. Then we turned these skills on each other. Tay said quietly. Humans fought humans for resources, territory, beliefs, and sometimes for no good reason at all. We fought with every weapon we could create. Rocks, clubs, spears, arrows, swords, guns. We fought individual duels and massive wars involving millions of soldiers. The images were difficult to watch. Battlefields covered with bodies. Ancient armies clashing. Medieval sieges, modern conflicts. You see weakness in human biology, Tay continued. We saw the same weakness, so we compensated. We studied how to kill efficiently. We developed martial arts, systems of combat refined over generations. Every technique in these systems exists because it worked against other humans who were trying to kill us. He zoomed in on specific martial arts. Korean sword arts like Jeomdo developed during centuries of warfare. We learned optimal cutting angles, proper distance management, how to defeat armored opponents. Japanese arts like Kenjutsu taught speed and precision. European systems emphasized leverage and geometry. Chinese martial arts explored the connection between body mechanics and striking power. But all of these are just different approaches to the same problem, Tay explained. How does a weak, slow creature with no natural weapons defeat someone trying to kill them? The answer is technique. Pure, practiced, refined technique. More displays activated showing training methods. Human warriors train for years before entering combat. We repeat movements thousands of times until they become automatic. We study anatomy to know where to strike. We learn psychology to predict opponent behavior. We condition our bodies and minds to function under extreme stress. Cormath spoke up. Master Tay, I understand that humans train extensively. But my question is this. Why does every human seem capable of this? The Vrakesh have warrior castes. The Chitauri have soldier subspecies. Most species specialize combat ability in specific individuals, yet you claim any human can become a dangerous fighter with proper training. Because we have no warrior caste, Tay replied. Every human is born essentially the same. We have minor genetic variations, but nothing like specialized breeding for combat. Any human child can potentially become a master warrior through training. Any elderly human can teach these skills because they are learned, not inherited. He displayed footage from human training facilities. Children practicing basic movements, teenagers learning weapon techniques, adults refining advanced skills, elderly masters teaching the next generation. This is what makes humans dangerous, Tay said bluntly. We are not a warrior species. We are a species where every individual can become a warrior through education. Our military strength is not limited by how many warriors we can breed. It is limited only by how many we choose to train. The council chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. A species where every member could potentially become combat capable was fundamentally different from species with specialized warrior castes. A delegate from a peaceful trader species spoke up nervously. Master Tay, are you saying that all humans know how to fight? That every human is trained for violence? No, Tay replied. Most humans never learn martial arts. Many live their entire lives without combat training. But the capability exists in all of us, and our history shows that when threatened, humans can learn to fight very quickly. During our world wars, we trained millions of civilians to become soldiers in months. He displayed historical records of human military mobilization. Peaceful farmers becoming infantry soldiers, factory workers learning weapon maintenance, scientists developing better combat techniques. You asked how learned behavior can exceed evolution. Tay addressed the Chitauri delegate. Here is your answer. Evolution is slow. Learning is fast. A Chitauri soldier is born with combat instincts, but those instincts cannot adapt within a single lifetime. A human warrior starts with nothing but can learn and adapt continuously throughout their life. We can study new opponents, develop new techniques, and teach those innovations to others immediately. New data appeared. Comparison charts showing adaptability rates. When humans encountered new weapons or tactics, we adapted within years or even months. When we faced new enemies, we studied them and developed counters. Our martial arts are not static traditions. They are living systems that evolve as we learn more about combat. Tay paused, letting the data speak for itself. There is something else you must understand, he continued. The demonstrations on Krell showed our blade work. But blades are just one category of human weapons expertise. We have similar depth of knowledge in unarmed combat, flexible weapons, impact weapons, ranged weapons, and tactics. 10,000 years of continuous warfare taught us everything there is to know about killing. The displays shifted to show various human combat systems: boxing, wrestling, staff fighting, archery, tactical squad movements, each with centuries of refinement. My sister asked me to bring blade masters because blades are elegant, Tay explained. They demonstrate pure technique without the complications of projectile weapons or heavy armor. But make no mistake, humans are equally skilled with every weapon category we have developed. And we have developed many. Cormath stood again. This council must understand what we are truly discussing. The humans are not asking us to accept a weak species that needs protection. They are revealing that we have underestimated a species that mastered violence through necessity. We thought their soft bodies made them harmless. Instead, their soft bodies forced them to become the most skilled warriors in the galaxy. Not warriors, Tay corrected gently. Survivors who learn to fight. There is a difference. Warriors seek combat. Humans prefer peace. But when peace fails, we are very, very good at warfare, because we have practiced it for our entire existence as a species. The Chitauri delegate spoke again. This frightens us. A species where any individual can become dangerous. A species with 10,000 years of accumulated combat knowledge. A species that survived by becoming skilled at killing. Why should we trust such a people? Hana stood. Because we learned one more lesson through. The proposal for human membership had passed, but several council delegates requested one final demonstration. They wanted to hear directly from the fighters themselves about the philosophy behind human martial arts. The galaxy had seen the techniques. Now they wanted to understand the thinking. Minji stood in the council chamber, surrounded by thousands of alien observers. She had faced Dracus in the arena without fear, but speaking to the assembled council made her nervous. She was a fighter, not a diplomat. But Hana had asked, and Minji had agreed. She carried her sword still in its scabbard. the blade she had wielded for 2 decades, the weapon that had shocked the galaxy. "Honorable delegates," Minji began, her voice quiet but clear through the translation systems. "I am not a warrior. I am a student of the sword. There is a difference that I wish to explain." She drew her blade slowly, holding it up so the lights caught the steel. "This weapon can kill. Every technique I demonstrated against the Vrkesh champion could have been lethal. I could have cut arteries instead of tendons. I could have struck vital organs instead of pressure points. The knowledge to kill efficiently is part of my training." She paused, letting the council absorb this admission. "But I was also taught when not to kill, how to disable instead of destroy, how to win without causing unnecessary harm. My masters called this restraint, and they considered it more important than technique." Minji walked slowly across the platform, her sword held in a neutral position. In Korean sword arts, we have a saying, "The fastest sword is the one never drawn." This means true mastery comes from avoiding conflict, not winning it. The sword exists to protect, not to attack. Every student learns this philosophy alongside every technique. She demonstrated a simple movement, drawing the blade and returning it to the scabbard in one smooth motion. "We practice the draw 10,000 times, not because we want to draw quickly in battle, but because the practice teaches patience and precision. We learn that rushing leads to mistakes. We learn that power without control is dangerous. We learn that capability must be matched with responsibility." A crystalline delegate spoke up. "But you did draw your sword against Drakus. Your philosophy failed in that moment." "No," Minji replied. "My philosophy succeeded. I drew my sword to stop violence, not to cause it. Drakus was not my enemy. He was a warrior testing himself against an unknown opponent. I respected his courage. So when I defeated him, I did so in a way that taught rather than humiliated. I disabled rather than destroyed. I showed him that strength alone is not enough while proving that skill can overcome natural advantage." She turned to face Cormath's platform. "War Chief, your champion fought with honor. He deserved an honorable defeat. This is what my philosophy teaches, to respect opponents even while defeating them." Cormath stood. "You could have killed Drakus in the first exchange. Why did you not?" "Because killing was not necessary," Minji answered simply. "My goal was to demonstrate human capability, not to take life. Unnecessary death serves no purpose. This is a lesson humans learned through much suffering. Our history is filled with conflicts where we killed each other without restraint. Those conflicts taught us that uncontrolled violence creates cycles of revenge and hatred." She sheathed her blade. "Modern human martial arts emphasize discipline because we learned what happens without it. We teach students to avoid fights when possible. We teach them to use minimum force when fighting becomes necessary. We teach them that true strength lies in choosing peace from a position of capability, not weakness." Another delegate spoke. "This philosophy sounds noble, but can it be maintained in real warfare? When survival is at stake, does restraint not become a liability?" Hana stood to answer this question. "No, restraint makes us more effective, not less. A warrior who can control their actions under stress is more dangerous than one who acts on instinct. A soldier who understands when to shoot and when to hold fire is more valuable than one who shoots at everything. Discipline is not weakness. It is the foundation of true combat effectiveness." She gestured to the human team standing nearby. "Every person who fought in the arena has trained for years. Not just in techniques, but in mental discipline. They can maintain focus under exhaustion. They can make tactical decisions while under attack. They can assess situations and choose appropriate responses instantly. This capability comes from training both body and mind together." Tay stepped forward to add context. "Human martial arts are not just fighting systems. They are educational philosophies. We teach students that physical skill must be balanced with mental discipline and moral understanding. A master who can fight brilliantly but lacks judgment is not a true master. A warrior with great technique but no restraint is a danger to everyone, including themselves." He displayed images of training halls across human history. "Look at these spaces. They are not just places to practice violence. They are schools where students learn respect, patience, humility, and self-control alongside combat techniques. A child who studies martial arts for 10 years learns more than how to fight. They learn how to think, how to control emotions, how to respect others, and how to take responsibility for their actions. This is the complete package we offer the galaxy," Hana announced. "Not just combat techniques, but the philosophical framework that makes those techniques safe and ethical. We propose establishing the Human Martial Academy here on Apex Prime. Any species interested in learning human fighting arts will be welcome, but they will learn philosophy alongside technique. They will learn restraint alongside capability. The council chamber buzzed with discussion. Some delegates saw the value immediately. Others remained skeptical. The debate continued for over an hour. Then Dracus entered the chamber. The Vrakesh champion moved slowly, his injuries still healing. Medical treatment had repaired the damage Minji caused, but full recovery would take weeks. He approached the central platform where Minji stood. The chamber fell silent. "I requested permission to address the council," Dracus said, his translated voice carrying a tone that software struggled to capture. "I wish to speak about my defeat." The speaker granted permission. Dracus turned to face the assembly. "When I entered the arena, I expected easy victory," he began. "I saw a small human with no armor and a simple blade. I believed my natural advantages guaranteed success. I was wrong, and my defeat was absolute." He looked at Minji. "But the manner of my defeat taught me more than any victory ever has. The human fighter could have killed me in the first exchange. I know this now. I have reviewed the recording many times. Her first strike could have severed major blood vessels. Her second could have struck my brain. Her third could have destroyed vital organs." His bone plates shifted. "But she chose differently. She disabled my arms without permanent damage. She struck pressure points that caused temporary loss of function without lasting injury. She defeated me completely while ensuring I could recover fully. This showed me something I had not understood before, that capability and mercy are not opposites. They are partners." He bowed to Minji in the Vrakesh manner. "I came to the arena seeking glory through combat. Instead, I received education through defeat. The human taught me that strength without skill is crude, that natural advantage without training is insufficient, that victory without honor is meaningless. For these lessons, I am grateful." Dracus turned back to the council. "I support the human proposal. My species should learn from them, not just their techniques but their philosophy. If the humans can teach us to be better warriors through discipline and understanding, then we will become stronger, not weaker." Other defeated warriors entered the chamber: a Chitari soldier, 2 Morok fighters, an aquatic champion. One by one they echoed Dracus's words. They spoke of how human fighters had defeated them with precision and control, how the humans could have killed but chose to educate instead, how losing to humans had taught them more than their previous victories. The tide of opinion shifted. Delegates who had been skeptical now reconsidered. The testimony of defeated warriors carried weight that human words alone could not match. The vote was called. The Human Martial Academy was approved with overwhelming support. 3 months later, the academy opened its doors. The facility occupied an entire section of Apex Prime Station. Training halls filled with equipment from various human cultures. Study rooms contained historical records and philosophical texts. Living quarters housed instructors and students from across the galaxy. Minji stood in the main training hall on opening day. 20 students from 15 different species waited for instruction. Some were military personnel sent by their governments. Others were individuals seeking personal development. All had come to learn what human martial arts could teach them. She walked to the center of the hall, her sword at her side. The students formed a semicircle around her, their various body types and anatomies a reminder of the galaxy's diversity. "Welcome," Minji said. "Before we begin physical training, I must teach you the most important lesson. The lesson my own master taught me when I was young and eager to learn fighting techniques.